The following program is sponsored by MaxOut Savings Advisors. The views expressed during the broadcast are solely for entertainment purposes and do not necessarily express the views of KNTH, its management, MaxOut Savings Advisors, or its sponsors. MaxOut Savings Advisors and members of the MaxOut Savings team may or may not hold securities mentioned during the show. Plan for your prosperity. Prepare for your retirement. Safeguard your savings. And nurture your investments. This is the MaxOut Savings Show with Ted Gioka, a presentation of MaxOut Savings Advisors. Now, here's your host from MaxOut Savings Advisors, Ted Gioka.
Good morning. Welcome to the MaxOut Savings Show. I'm Ted Gioka, and we're talking savings, investments, in your retirement here on the show. Our show is one of the Houston's longest-running financial radio shows. We're now on YouTube. The MaxOut Savings Show is on YouTube now, and so things are working. I mean, it's pretty exciting, and so we have a lot of things happening out there, and so you can see us live. You can listen to us live in the radio. You can listen to us live. On YouTube. So there's we have a lot of new listeners. Our show is all about saving money, building up wealth, understanding the world today, and taking very complex issues and bringing them down. We have a lot of very simple things on how to build up wealth in the show. We deal with some very complicated things. We want to get you ahead of what other people are thinking out there. For weeks now, we've been talking about a shortage of money because they're borrowing so much on. And now for AI, now you're starting to hear that. We try to bring these things to the table to you. That's one of the things to show. Back in 2007, we said there was going to be a failure of an investment bank. We laid out the balance sheets. We don't just say, hey, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a failure or what. We said we identified a problem. We identified the balance sheets on Wall Street. Growth was out of control. And we identified that the debt they were buying was not good debt due to the housing market. So we're here to bring all this stuff to you. As I said, we've been on for over 20 years, and it's exciting. It's a new chapter with the YouTube. Well, we got a lot to talk about in the show. That big changes at the Treasury. Why did Treasury Secretary increase double the amount of buybacks to, I believe, from $2 to $4 billion a month to try to slow down the increase of interest rates? What's going on there? Did it work? We're going to be talking about the markets here. We're going to talk about the big move in gold. Gold this week was up about $226, and so what's going on there? So a lot of stuff is happening, and so I want to hit it right away. Get into the show. Remember, our motto and philosophy is to save aggressively, invest conservatively. We always like to talk about that first. Understand you have to build up wealth first, hence you save aggressively. Use your company plans. If you're in the government, 403B, your different types of plans. Put away 10% minimum plus the company match, and get yourself for retirement. If you're behind in retirement, here's a number right here that's really fascinating. If you look at it, you can put away $7,500 in an IRA or $8,600 if you're over the age of 50. So if you start out, if you're behind in your retirement, if you just put away the maximum over the age of 50, which is $8,600 a year, you're going to have $129,000 by the time you hit age 65. That's assuming zero rate of return, zero. So that is pretty remote that's going to happen. So assuming you earn no money, you're still going to have almost $130,000 more than you did by just putting away that money. So take charge of your retirement, put that money away, save aggressively, invest conservatively. Wow. What happened with the markets this week? Secretary Bissett. Now, a couple things. He increased the amount of money for buybacks of long-term treasuries. From $2 billion, I think it's $2 billion an operation, to $4 billion. So it's effectively doubling. And I think it's about $25 billion increase. Look, this isn't a huge amount of money to do something. Now, they will tell you out there that looking at the chart of the 10 year, it really hasn't gone anywhere at all. It didn't move the number at all, and it's pretty much right back where it was. And so let me go over that. It's actually the same place it started on Wednesday. So it really didn't affect the 10 year. The 30-year dropped a little bit. The 30-year dropped from about 5.3 to about 5.27. There was a little bit of a drop there, not much. So the talk out there right now is the Fed has failed. He's lost control of the bond market. Look, this is something we've been talking about since Treasury Secretary Bissett came on. This guy, I believe, is one of the smartest people in the world. In investing, and he's got a very good track record. He's very well respected. He was involved in the collapse of the British pound 20, 30 years ago with George Soros. He knows how to move money. He's worked for some of the top people in the world. He's incredibly talented. He's likely going to be one of the best Treasury secretaries we've seen in our lifetime, and actually not in the last 100 years. Now, look, he's been handed a really bad hand. Look, this week, our borrowing went up over $40 trillion. We now owe over $40 trillion with the government. We're not slowing it down at all. And so he's not been given a good hand. They've come up with a plan. If we said on the show, and we've been saying this for months, they had a very good plan in place. They were going to cut government spending through inefficiency through the Doge program, which they completed. They went in and they also they were going to they put tariffs in place to generate more income. That's working. The Supreme Court cut back a lot of them, which cost us probably $200 billion of revenue there. And then they're going to grow the economy through AI, through bringing back the manufacturing, using the tariffs to bring the manufacturing plants back to the United States to grow the economy, to grow our way out of this. At the same time, they want to cut spending. Look, Congress the Republicans control the House and the Senate. They're basically dysfunctional. They're completely dysfunctional. You have a bunch of old guys. You have McConnell is in the hospital, likely. I don't know if he's in a coma or what, but they're saying he's, quote, working remotely. He should have resigned. They're mad at Trump. And so we can't even pass a bill that says, look, if you're going to vote, you should have ID. In places like Kenya, where we're dealing with basically native tribes that can't even read or write, they somehow managed to come up with a solution with ink or something else to identify if you voted or not. But the United States of America is the one country in the world that doesn't require an ID, so they have not been able to cut the spending. That's a problem. Okay, and number two is the Iran war was a mistake. We were restructuring our country. We were cutting getting our deficits under control. We had really we have too much debt, and we rushed into this war. We were talked into the war, and it was a mistake. So Secretary Bissett has got that makes it tougher because remember, at the beginning of the year, what was oil prices doing? Oil prices everybody was saying was going down to $50 a barrel. That was consensus on Wall Street. Now, suspiciously, the big oil companies went straight up into the war. So obviously somebody knew something, but so oil prices are going up. We have inflation now. That makes the deficit much more difficult to deal with. And this is kind of what we're struggling with now, because remember, it's not just oil prices went up, but the war is also causing oil prices to go up. It knocked out a lot of refineries in the Middle East, which means diesel fuel, gasoline, and jet fuel, particularly diesel fuel, is going up. Well, farmers use massive amounts of diesel fuel to run their tractors. And the other one is, if you fly across the United States, you see these green circles in farmland. Well, they're using pivots to irrigate, And those pivots run off of diesel fuel typically. And so it makes irrigation much more expensive. Now, look, in the United States, we have an awful lot of diesel fuel, a lot of oil. But if you're in some country like India or Africa, you don't have a lot of money to go blowing on diesel fuel. You're kind of barely getting along. So the prices of commodity are going up. But corn is up. Corn's up 5% this week. Wheat is up about 1%. Cotton's up 4% this week alone. So all of these things, we're having inflation coming back now. So what we have here is why did Secretary Bissett, we think he's one of the smartest people out there, did this? Well, he put a little speed bump in front of the march to raise interest rates ever higher. And kind of threw down a marker. But the other thing it did is it dropped the dollar about 1%, and then it dropped the yen. They've been trying to push the yen down. And the first thing Secretary Bissett did was to help out the Japanese to prevent a problem from the yen collapsing. That we intervened. But how do we intervene? Again, classic Bissett, very smart guy. He sold euro. Instead of selling dollars down, he sold euro and then bought the Japanese yen to help out, which pushed the euro lower. But we didn't, it didn't weaken the dollar as much. So this is kind of I believe it was more of a step to kind of control what's happening in Japan to some extent and throw down a marker or a speed bump to keep the speculators a little off guard. And so this is what we're doing. Now, a couple interesting things happened. Looking at the chart of gold when he did this, and we said on this show, is when is gold going to change? And gold was going to change as soon as we began. This is kind of a stealth quantitative easing. Gold's up $226, $228, $229 a an ounce this week. It exploded Wednesday once this happened, and so the price of gold and silver are going up. So this is again, this inflation. This is the problem when you have $40 trillion in a big budget deficit, is how do you control it? And people are nervous. Bitcoin went up as well. I honestly, I think Bitcoin was a big short squeeze there quite a bit, but we really don't follow Bitcoin. But silver was up 6%. And so looking at the gold was up 5%. Crude oil was up 6% this week. So again, we have inflation. This week, corn was up. As we said, corn was up 5%. Cotton was up 4%. All of these things are kind of big issues. This is inflation coming up. This is what we've been warning about with inflation. We have problems. We have a global war right now. We have the U.S. and Iran with Israel in Iran there. Okay, Iran is attacking UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait. They're knocking out aluminum production facilities, LNG gas trains. They're knocking out fertilizer operations, sulfur producing operations. You've seen the price of sulfur is up over 100%. These are all these problems. You got the Ukraine-Russia war. Okay, China's helping Russia. North Korea's selling them ballistic missiles, and they're bombing Ukraine, and Ukraine is attacking Moscow now, and Ukraine has attacked probably 80% of the refineries in Russia. Russia's having to buy. They bought a load of gasoline from India, and in retaliation, they're bombing the ports for Ukraine, which is, as longtime listeners know of the show, within a week of the start of the Russia-Ukraine war originally, I think it was at 22 or something, we laid out the case of, I think it's like 20% of the world's oats. I mean, it's big percentages of the world's oats, corn, wheat, those things, smaller amounts of those come out of there. Well, they can't get them out of the port now because the port's been bombed. Again, more inflation, global war, record government spending. All of these things are adding up to a situation where what we need to do is we're dealing with a global inflation. And then at the same time, we thought that we've attacked Iran. It wasn't the best time. We didn't have enough missiles or anti-missile missiles because Israel shot them all off, and so did the Ukraine. And so here we are, and we're scrambling to catch up. And then rather than Israel should have attacked Iran as soon as that is the Hamas attacked them, because it wasn't Hamas, it was Iran funding the whole thing. Instead, they didn't do anything. They decided to get involved in Gaza. Well, that gave Iran 3 years to sit there and build out. And drones made tremendous strides in that time. So now we have drone issues. So about 1/3 of our military is obsolete. In that world, that's causing that means we got to spend another probably $400 billion upgrading all our missiles, which again is guns and butter type of situation, rising inflation. And in this world, you're going to see big changes. Now, there's a big thing happening we're going to talk about later this week with the Federal Reserve meeting in Jackson Hole. We're going to discuss why that's important and understand where to go from here. But I want you to understand that this inflation is really rearing its head in here due to a number of things out there across the board, and it's going to continue. And so in that world, it's a different world than what we've seen happen back in it's much more similar to the 1970s. I'll tell you what, let's take a quick break right here on the Max Out Savings Show. We got a lot more interesting things to talk about. We'll be right back.
The Max Out Savings Show with Ted Gioka will return shortly. To speak with Ted Gioka now, call 713-339-1070. Back in a moment with the Max Out Savings Show.
I'm Ted Gioka, and I approve this message.
Inflation, instability of the market, bonds, precious metals, oil and gas, and lack of old-fashioned cash puts your retirement at risk. It takes a different type of portfolio to deal with these issues, and that's where Ted Gioka can come in, and he can help. Go to MaxOutSavings.com and schedule some time with Ted. That's MaxOutSavings.com. And listen to the Max Out Savings Show every Saturday at 10 a.m. on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
I'm Sam Malone, president of 512 New Media. We're Houston's leading marketing and content creation firm for many reasons. Our assets are exceptional, from video production to web design, strategy, and the ability to say no. Saying no is integral in launching a successful, profitable campaign. For example, take a look at Memorial Day. It's a federal holiday set aside to honor and mourn those in our U.S. military who died while serving our country. I'll say it again, for those who died while serving our country. So how does having a sale work in unison with the reason for the day off? Look, we know people will be at the beach and barbecuing and having parties. We would probably say no to launching a Memorial Day sale. So is there another way to commemorate the day while marketing your brand? Absolutely. And from our experience, the same holds true with Easter Day sales and MLK Day sales and Christmas Day sales. That's why we're different. No cookie cutter, follow the crowd, template marketing. Let's talk. We're 512 New Media. 512 New Media. With better marketing comes better value, creating better results.
The fight for the right has never been more important. This is the Big 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
In the 1970s, the big song was the Bee Gees' Staying Alive. Well, it was difficult back then to stay alive if you were a retiree. Inflation was running rampant, and since then, over the last 25 years, it's gone away. Well, inflation's coming back, and it's going to endanger your retirement. If you're a retiree, inflation is your biggest enemy. Hi, this is Ted Gioka of the Max Out Savings Show. If you need help with your retirement, I'd like to help you out. Go to MaxOutSavings.com. That's MaxOutSavings.com, and we'll show you how you manage through inflation. Don't let inflation destroy your retirement.
We return now to the Max Out Savings Show. Here's Ted Gioka.
Welcome back to the Max Out Savings Show. I'm Ted Gioka, and we're talking savings, investments in your retirement. I believe, do we have Steve on the line? Okay, well, we're waiting to hear. We've got a guest coming on, and as soon as he comes on, as soon as he comes on, we'll get in touch with him. I wanted to touch base here. Again, we're talking about rising inflation. The Fed, the Treasury stepped in and increased the buying program about $25 billion on the long end of the curve. One thing to understand is the Federal Reserve controls short-term rates. Right now, the Fed funds rate is about, I want to say 3.6%, something like that. The Fed, they set short-term rates. They don't, and this goes back to a show we did years ago where it was Treasury Secretary. One of them was actually on the air. We had him on, and it was Bob Rubin, and he, he said, "Look, the Fed can control short-term rates. They can't control long-term. They can't control long-term rates. They can influence. They can push them up and down a little bit. It's much tougher." So anyway, so they're trying to slow things down. But this week we have Fed Chairman Warsh is coming out with the Jackson Hole conference. This is a big Fed powwow that they get on. And why this is important is, as we've talked about on the show, the Fed is in this big change where they're making big changes. Look, Secretary Bessent they increased bond buying $2 billion a month, which is virtually nothing, or when they do this, I think it's about once a month. It's virtually nothing from 2 to 4. And gold shot up $200 and something. Other commodities started going up, and everyone's going, oh my God. The Fed, they don't have the window to flood the system with money like they've been doing every single time to bail out Wall Street. Every time the market falls 8.5%, Wall Street goes in a panic, and they're not going to get their bonuses, and they pressure the Fed, and the Fed floods the system with money, and it's all great. And the problem is inflation is cascading through the system. So they don't have that. So they're going to have to think outside of the box. They're going to have to be much smarter. Now, Kevin Warsh has put together these 5 committees, as we've talked about, very high-level people on these committees to make changes in everything from getting data, analyzing data on the economy. Instead of bringing in more economic PhDs onto that committee. Instead, what he does is he sits there and gets the former CEO of Walmart again. So they're changing things up. One thing, by the way, to producer, could you double check? Steve's trying to call in and they're not answering the number. Could y'all double check that? Let's see here. Bear with me just a second. This is live radio. Okay, the phone is not ringing, huh? Okay. Well, hopefully we'll get this thing going and we'll get Steve on. So what we're dealing with is they got to make big changes on the market, and the hold on just a second. Bear with me just a second. We'll try to get our guests straightened up here. 713 10. There we go. So what we're dealing with is the Federal Reserve has got to make these changes. They can't go flood the system with money again. The dollar's going to collapse. Interest rates are going to skyrocket. So they're coming up with a new plan. Now you're going to hear the first things coming out about the new plan here in the next couple weeks. It will be actually this week coming up at the Jackson Hole. This is the first one where he's going to start explaining kind of what he's doing. Remember, Wall Street wants him to keep flooding the system with money because that's how they make, the more stocks go up, the more they can trade, the more guidance the Federal Reserve gets is, let me see here. Okay. The more guidance it gets, the more guidance the Fed gives, the more Wall Street can come in and lend more money. So if the Fed tells you, look, over the next year, interest rates are going to go down 0.5% or 0.75% for sure on the Fed funds, this is what's going to happen. So then Wall Street can go out and borrow literally like $1 trillion, not like figuratively, literally and then lever up against it and make money, and they're guaranteed to make money. That's what they want. Now, if something comes out of the blue like a war, an attack, it could blow up, and all this massive leverage could cascade down and wreck the financial system. So it's not it's unstable to the financial system. It's not in the best interest of the United States of America. But look, it's good for Wall Street. So that's what they want. So the Fed has got to figure out another way to help out when things get worse, to put money into the economy, into the banking system, so the banking system sends that money out across the world, across the United States, and stabilizes the economy. Okay, what we'd like to do in the future is we want to stabilize the economy through manufacturing, production, business, and we want to get away from stabilizing the economy by giving bailouts to Wall Street. So this is a really, really big event this week with Jackson Hole. You're going to hear the first things about it. We'll have to see how it all plays out and where we go from here. So let me, so that's going to be one of the big things this week. Everyone's going to be watching. Now, the market here is it's not doing well. It's sort of breaking down. Interest rates are going up. I mean, people are concerned. They're concerned about inflation. And if you look at the 30 years at a new high, 5.3%. Rates are going up around the world. And so this is not an easy situation because they're going up around the world. There's a massive demand for money. The U.S. is borrowing $2 trillion and need another $400 billion to get something done there. But the problem they're running into is AI needs $1 trillion this year. I'm hearing $1.5 trillion next year. They need massive money. Well, also the auto companies, drug companies, everyone else that's bringing factories back, they need money for their projects. And so we've not seen this massive demand for money, because remember, the big demand for money over the last 10 or 20 years has been what? It's been trading on Wall Street. Look, here's how it works on Wall Street. I have a hedge fund. I got $100 million. I go to Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan. I said, hey, I want to buy $200 million worth of stock. Sure thing, no problem. We'll put you on margin. Okay, so I'm trading around. Well, then during the day, I can buy another $200 million or more dollars worth of stocks intraday, borrowing money. So they go and lend me another $200 million, and I pay it down at the end of the day with my trading strategies. So there's enormous leverage on Wall Street. This is why the situation awareness hedge fund blew up. They were on 3 times margin, but if you look closely, it actually says, well, at times they're actually much more. I'm hearing as much as 5 times margin, probably during different types of trading. Again, there's way too much money on Wall Street. There's way too much leverage. It's much, much higher than people think, and this is a problem. And so this money is now coming out of Wall Street. The markets are starting to sell down. You've got a much more unstable market. You want to be cautious. But there's ways to make money. Look at the precious metal sector. Look at the commodity sector. Look at the grain sector. Look at the farm sector. These things are all still cheap. You can't make any more grain. You can't make any more gold. You can't make any more silver, aluminum. Copper's near all-time highs because the Fed can't print it and Wall Street can't print it. And so that's where the opportunities are in this market, and shorter-term bonds. Tell you what, let's take a quick break here on the MaxOut Savings Show, and we'll be right back to discuss some more of these big issues.
The MaxOut Savings Show with Ted Gioka will return shortly. To speak with Ted Gioka now, call 713-339-1070. Back in a moment with the MaxOut Savings Show.
I'm Ted Gioka, and I approve this message.
MaxOut Savings is looking at rising interest rates, the bond market, and our country's spending to project the impact on your retirement. They use that data to help you flex to current conditions with your future in mind. Call 713-627-0400 to learn more. That's 713-627-0400 or MaxOutSavings.com. Remember, you can hear the MaxOut Savings program right here Saturdays at 10 a.m. on AM 1070 and FM 103.3. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Sam Malone, the owner of Houston's cutting-edge media company called 512 New Media. At 512 New Media, we create amazing videos that companies use on their websites, telling their story in bold colors with exciting animation and graphics. At 512 New Media, we also shoot television commercials and instructional videos. And if you want to show off your business from the air, we're ready to go with our drone video aircraft. Let us help you create your media message. We're online at 512newmedia.com or call 281-822-8803. 512 New Media is Houston's only media creation and distribution company that's actually owned by someone who's currently on the air. And that gives us an incredible edge when creating content for consumers to use on their laptops, tablets, and smartphones. Standing by to create your message, we're 512 New Media, 512newmedia.com.
This is Ted Gioka, host of the MaxOut Savings Show, one of Houston's most popular financial radio shows, celebrating over a decade on the air in Houston, Texas. With stocks at record high valuations and interest rates near record lows, you need to have your guard up. You need to have a plan to manage risk to your retirement. Do you? At MaxOut Savings Advisors, we have a risk-based value investing approach to your retirement. If you would like some help managing your retirement, go to MaxOutSavings.com to set up an appointment. That's MaxOutSavings.com.
A radical agenda by the far left is destroying the bedrock of this great nation. We must protect conservative ideals with our votes and in our homes. This is the sound of freedom. AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
We return now to the MaxOut Savings Show. Here's Ted Gioka.
Welcome back to the MaxOut Savings Show. I'm Ted Gioka, and we're talking savings, investments, and your retirement. I want to mention one of our sponsors, Advanced Longevity. They have some of the best imaging systems in actually in the state of Texas, down in Bel Air, and they have a CT scanner that will do a full body scan of your entire body. Take a look at you. They'll take a look at it, and they will see, hey, how is your health really? They will actually take a picture. It's like something out of Star Trek. You get into the machine. The machine basically runs for like 3 minutes and does the scan. And then they process the scan, and it comes up with like 630 slices of your whole body. So it's like it's like Star Trek. And so they can go, well, look, you have an issue here, you have an issue there. Maybe you have a little arthritis here, or let's take a look at your heart. So all of these things are there, are in the thing. And so if you get a chance, tell you what, let me just see if I can get these people on the phone. So it's just truly incredible to see how this works. And so they have a special program for listeners of the MaxOut Savings Show. You get a special price for a husband and wife both getting the scan, but it gives you a picture of, hey, where's my health really? You can look at the blood work and stuff, but if you actually see pictures, you can see potential problems. Another friend of mine actually had an auto accident, and they did a scan to check him out, and I wasn't the same, but it was kind of close. And they said, oh, they identified he had a gallbladder issue he didn't know about. So there's always something on this thing, but it's really fascinating. It's Advanced Longevity in Bel Air, Texas. If you get a chance, give them a call at 844-876-5433. Now, hopefully we'll get Steve in. Another thing I want to touch base on is, you have heard about the sale of the Lakers for $12.5 billion. And this was spun as, hey, this is really exciting. Sports prices are accelerating. The Lakers are worth $12.5 billion. It's really pretty amazing. But the real story isn't quite that. The real story is Mark Walter, who's one of the founders of Guggenheim Financial, has financial problems. And the problem is they've been lending, one of his companies, I think it's TBG, have been borrowing to purchase these sports organizations and through some of his insurance companies. And so they had between 30 and 40% of the loans at a couple of his insurance companies were related loans. Now, you're only supposed to have a certain percentage of related loans. So they're forcing him to get rid of about $21 billion worth of related lending. So he's having to fire sale that and some other things. I think that was such a premier property, he's getting a good price. But the problem is, how many of these insurance companies are really bankrolling these sky-high prices on on sports teams. You know, the sports team prices go up every year, and then they buy it for more. And of course, the minute someone buys it, well, they raise the prices of everything, the tickets and the food, to fund this, Ponzi scheme that keeps going higher. But what I want you to understand is the sale of the Lakers for $12.5 billion was not a positive, because it's a result of a company that's in financial trouble, and insurance companies in financial trouble. And again, this goes back to private equity lending that we've talked, where there's a lot of problems in that sector. I think you've probably seen some of the top in some of the sports lending. I think this is going to slow that down. And keep in mind, the Lakers deal isn't closed yet. They still got to get the financing, which they're likely to do. But there are problems, and it just shows you that we continue to see problems with the financial, with the private equity, which is not going to go away anytime soon. And so this is something that, we want to kind of continue to watch going forward, is really how that all plays out. So this is something we want to continue to watch. Again, a lot of big issues we're dealing with, a lot of changes. We got the Jackson Hole meeting this week. We got a market kind of breaking down. We have interest rates rising. We have inflation rising. So we'll see what happens. Tell you what, I think we've got Steve on the phone. Steve Marler from Advanced Longevity. Steve, you there?
I'm here. Good morning, Ted.
Steve, good to hear from you.
Hey, it's good to be heard. I'll tell you, this technology is great till it doesn't work right.
Yeah, we have to deal with that. But well, it's
great to be here. Thank you. Better late than never.
Yeah, you've got the technology that does work right. And could you explain to our
we
listeners about these full body scans? We're getting a lot of questions on them. Could you explain exactly what it is and how it works, and some of the new things that are happening in the industry?
We've got some exciting things. Well, let me start with this, Ted. As you know, early detection saves lives. That's our goal. Actually, our goal is to scan 1 million people. We're well on the way to that number. And in this process, we've learned so much about baseline information of our body. If you think about what the actual people think that I'm going to get my physical, what's that consist of? It's usually a visit with a mid-level. They take some basic blood panels, and they poke around on you and you cough a little bit. Do you know that test has been around for over 100 years? The point in that is that our medical system, while we have a fabulous medical system, the advancement in most of the areas are pretty slow. We're focused on improving technology, and the big, they kind of go in a cycle. The hardware advances and then the software advances, and it's about every 5 year. Of course, right now we're in the AI boom, and we've got some fabulous new things we can do with this AI overreads on our scans. Because our scans are so detailed, the AI can give us more information than we've ever been able to see.
Wow. Now, so, and it's a very simple, what has really surprised me, it's like I said, it's a very simple process. I went in and actually had the scan with y'all. I walk in, it's a really nice place. I fill out a little bit of information. And then I'm like, well, how is this going to work? How long is it going to take? I was shocked how easy that was. And it went right through. It did the job. And it was really remarkable. And then what I think it does, it gives you, like I said, a Star Trek picture of really your body. And then you can really see, hey, what if you have any problems, if any developing problems, and that type of. And why, to me, this is so important, Steve, is once you get over the age of 50, you really have to watch your health. And we deal with a lot of retirees, and in health, they'll spend a lot of time on their retirement money watching it, but they forget the health. And some of the numbers, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars if you have difference between good health and bad health. You have also a much higher quality of life and a longer life. So if you can get ahead of some of these issues, I think it's a big deal. And so I'm really excited about this. You've got something new that you're doing with your scanners too. Can you explain that just came out?
Yes, so in our flagship scan, our body scan, we also scan the heart and the lungs, along with all your other organs and, of course, your pulmonary vascular systems, etc. In this new scan, AI read, we are able to see something that before now you had to have a very invasive scan. You had to have dangerous dye injected in your body. You had to have, this was an hour procedure in the scan itself, total. We can now do this in our same body scan, which just takes a few minutes, and we can see soft plaque. And if you Google soft plaque and look into it, it's actually the deadliest form of plaque. The experts say it's the cause of 70% of heart attacks. And as we age and our body doesn't process foods and sugars the way that it once did, the lipids build up in our blood system. And that is kind of where the inflammation starts. And of course, then we start seeing soft plaque in the arteries, and that turns into calcified plaque as well. But before today, we had a really difficult time imaging this soft plaque. So it's a breakthrough that I just can't be more excited about. And there's actually a group of physicians and scientists that developed this right here in Houston, Texas.
Wow. Now, do you do that if I get the scan? Do you do that as well, or?
Yes. So typically, this is an add-on to what we do.
Okay.
There's an additional charge, but for your readers, we've got a special. It's on our website. If you go to Advanced Longevity, that's ADVANCED, longevity, LONGEVITY, advancedlongevity.com. We put a big, pretty red button on the top right of our homepage that says MaxOut Savings. And that will talk about this offer that we have for your listeners today.
Okay, that's fantastic. Like I said, I think this gives you, like you said, a good baseline of, hey, where's my health? What do I need to make improvements on? Particularly when you're coming up on retirement. You're retiring. Hey, I want to take a look at my health. Where I am. What do I need to work on? What can I do to improve it? Because you're retired. Now's when you can really work on your health and get it straightened out. Because when you retire, you've got 20, 25, 30 years or more to live, and people forget. I mean, it's frustrating. Sometimes we talk to some people and they're like, it sounds like they're just wrapping up the end of their life. And no, that's not the way it works. And so you've got to take care of your health. And Steve, I think you've got some of the, really, could you just run through a couple of the other, you've got some of the most advanced things out in the medical. This is what really wealthy people are coming to you and other people. Your stuff is really much more reasonably priced than others. Could you explain some of the stuff you have in addition to the scanners?
Sure. You're going to get me in trouble, Ted, because I love talking about the technology. That's my gig. I research this stuff. I go to events all over the country, and I attend the big, large radiology shows every year. So yes, because of that, I know what technology works and what not only gives us the most data, but it's the most comfortable. Again, when you do the scan, you come in dressed as you are. We put a couple of diodes on you. We run you in and out of that scanner in less than 2 minutes, and we get more information. I have people tell me this all the time. They take our reports to the doctor and they'll say, I've been treating you for 25 years. I've got more information about you right now than I've ever had in all the 25 years I've treated you. That in the Bel Air location, which we're located there on Bissonnet and Newcastle, just off of the Loop, we have the 640 slice Canon CT. This device was actually built after talking to salesmen from all the other imaging machine companies in the world, and they took everything these guys wish they had and built it into this machine. There's no other 640 slice CT body scanner out there. We also have a full body MRI scanner. You hear a lot about those today. Frankly, we're not a big fan of MRI body scans. Not only does it take an hour and it's a noisy, claustrophobic process, but it's not really designed to do big area scans like the CT. The 640 slice CT is the gold standard. It gets more detail, and it was designed from its onset over 30 years ago to do large area scans in high detail. So we have that scanner in our office. You've been in it. You've experienced how easy it is. But we also do other scans as well, virtual colonoscopies, brain scan. We do a lot of ultrasound type stuff as well. So it's a full gamut. And I'd like to talk a little bit about that next in our membership programs and what they offer. We have many other services. And if you become a member of our program, we have packages of these services. When you go to our website, advancedlongevity.com, you can see at the top of the page, there's a tab that says services. I can run through those right quick if you'd like, but there is a detailed explanation of all the different types of services. And becoming a member with us, in other words, one of these package programs, which are very inexpensive, and we can even finance them on a low monthly rate if you would like. That opens up all those services to your listeners when they get involved in one of those programs.
Okay, no, this is good, Steve. I appreciate you coming on the show today. And like I said, they will sit there and they'll have an expert look at the scan, tell you what the situation is with your body. But then you can also take it back to your doctor, and your doctor has an incredible baseline to work off of as well. And so I think it's really exciting.
That's a great point, Ted. Listen, we're not trying. Yeah, go ahead if you need to break, and when we come back, I'll explain.
Okay, no, let's answer that quick because I've got to wrap up the show in a couple minutes.
Yes, sir. Okay, so listen, we're not trying to replace your doctor or any of the services that you're getting now in the medical community. We are an addition. We give them the information. As you know, it's kind of hard to get into that system sometimes. We give you that ticket, that report that shows all the things going on, helps you get inside, and it will give you valuable information to your physician. So please, we're not trying to replace your physician or their care. And remember, Ted, thanks for letting me on today. Early detection saves lives.
No, I think it does. I appreciate it, Steve. Well, we'll get you back on the show again. It's Steve Marler with Advanced Longevity here in Bel Air, Texas. Go take a look at their website, see what they've got. But again, when it comes to retirement, you want to take care of health, and this is a way to kind of get a jump on it. Anyway, appreciate it, Steve, and have a good day.
Thanks, Ted. God bless.
Of Steve Marler, Advanced Longevity. So talking, and again, we really feel like healthcare, we want to try to expand this on the show more because it's such a part of retirement. As much as I like to talk about markets and everything else, that's another key component. We got the Jackson Hole meeting coming up this week with the Federal Reserve. Everyone's going to be watching. How is the Fed going to deal with inflation? How is it going to change? How's the Treasury? What I want you to understand is there's big changes. Things went on for the last 25 years with Wall Street and with the inflation and everything else. That world is changing. It's banking. The banks are, if you notice, there's more advertisements on TV from the banks talking about, hey, your business, we can handle your business loan. The banks are all out there wanting to lend money to businesses now. They're realizing their balance sheets are too levered to Wall Street lending. It's a problem. But more importantly, there's massive demand in the United States for money from AI, from build out of new factories in all these services, and they've got to have the money to do it. And so the banks have got to step up. The private equity people are in trouble. Nobody trusts them. Their loans are crummy. So the banks are going back into the business. And so this is a big shift. These are big shifts. This is going to take money away from Wall Street. These are really big trends that are going to affect your retirement. And we're going to find out more about it in this Jackson Hole meeting. And so again, I think now you want to be a little cautious. I think that, we're seeing, I think the commodities, you want to broaden out your investment retirement package to commodities and other things. These things are going up. The refineries, half the refineries, not half, but there's probably 80% of the refineries in Russia have been damaged. They've been selling diesel fuel and gasoline to India and other places. Now they're having to import. Again, this is pushing higher prices on everything uses diesel fuel because trucks use diesel fuel, trains use diesel fuel, irrigation pumps use diesel fuel, tractors use diesel fuel. That is kind of the diesel fuel is the backbone of the economy, and diesel fuel is going up, and there's going to be shortages going forward. So these are big changes happening here, and it's affecting inflation and everything. This is affecting the demand for money, is affecting the cost of money. The cost of money is going up. So there's a lot of really interesting things happening here, and we're going to bring them to you here in the MaxOut Savings. We've been talking for a month or two on this shortage of money, this demand for money. All of a sudden, it's on CNBC. They suddenly discovered it. So there's a lot of things out there going on right now, but these are big changes. These are big trends, and there's big money to be made for your retirement. There's big money to be lost if you're in the wrong place. If you're not set up correctly, the old 60-40% where you're parked in the S&P 500 ETF and maybe 5 or 7% overseas, and you're in long bonds. Long bonds have been going down because interest rates are going up. That world has changed, and so that it creates opportunity and more risk. So a couple ways you can follow this. If you go to the MaxOut Savings report, you go to the MaxOutSavings.com, and you can sign up for our free report, the MaxOut Savings report. Just go to the website, MaxOutSavings.com, sign up for the free report. We're going to be writing about these big issues. What seemed like a real big exciting thing with the Lakers, $12.5 billion sale, new record high for basketball. Actually, when you investigate underneath it, whoa, there's a problem here we didn't realize. The mainstream media is going to try to spin everything good, everything. They don't want you to see any potential problems. They don't want you to see risk to your portfolio. They want it all to be good. CNBC every day, everything is great. It's exciting. AI. But there's changes happening. And so you can get the free MaxOut Savings report. We write about these big issues. We write about saving money, how to deal with retirement. It's all in the free MaxOut Savings report. A couple other things. Remember, we're now on YouTube. You can see us on YouTube. Go to our website, MaxOutSavings.com. That's MaxOutSavings.com, and you can sign up for the free report as well. But if you're retired, if you have an old 401k you'd like to move over, or just don't know what to do with, or retiring, you can sit down with us here at MaxOut Savings Advisors. I'll meet with you personally here in Houston, Texas, and we'll show you how we manage money using our value investing approach to the stock and bond markets. We put together a portfolio tailored to you, a specific portfolio in your name. We hold the assets custodian at Charles Schwab, and we manage the money for you. We're a fiduciary, so our responsibility is to you and to nobody else. So if you need some help, go to the website, MaxOutSavings.com. You can get the phone number, email, request an appointment. I'll sit down with you, or at least sign up for that free newsletter. And remember our motto and philosophy, which is to save aggressively and invest conservatively. That, my friends, is the key to building wealth over the long term. I hope everyone has a great weekend. We'll see you next week right here on the MaxOut Savings Show.
This has been the MaxOut Savings Show with Ted Gioka, a presentation of MaxOut Savings Advisors. Join us next Saturday at 10 a.m. for the MaxOut Savings Show with Ted Gioka on AM 1070. The Answer.